quiet seaside town, an evil laid to rest centuries ago, has risen. An abandoned fortress deep in the swamp holds a secret that could save the village or destroy it. Now, a band of adventurers sets out to dig up the wounds of the past and bring the light of day to the roots of ruin. This is Tabletop Gold.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another edition of Tabletop Gold. It's a podcast. Podcasts always have two things. They have a game master and they have a host. In this case, I'm both of those, and my name's Lars Casteen. Signing off for Tabletop Gold. See you next week. Was that a good?
I think we nailed this episode, guys.
That felt good. It was clean.
It was so easy.
It really felt good.
A little confusing.
Robin Lange is here.
I actually think this week I'm going to be Robin Chernicoff. I've decided to join the Chernicoff clan this week.
Interesting.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
The
Keep
more the
rotating
merrier.
through 'em.
You know, each week I'm going to try out a different name.
I like
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's worked great for the next two people that we're
Yeah.
about to meet. Those
Exactly.
being Zoe Chernicoff.
Hello.
David Chernicoff is here.
Good that time, everybody.
Good that time. And Armat
Chernicoff.
Humphreys is here.
Ah.
Oh, Chernicoff?
Well, I figure why not? Good that time to you guys.
We're gonna get into a pretty exciting episode. We're gonna have some fun. There's a lot of things happening in our game. It's gonna be great. But before we get into that, today is an auspicious day. But a day around a week ago was an even more auspicious day because that was the day when David and Zoe Chernicoff moved.
Woo!
Fully.
Moved.
Ooh.
Fully.
Finally.
All of our possessions from one home to another home.
Phew.
Bravo.
Most of our possessions, actually.
And the
Not all
children
of them.
made it too, right?
I think so.
Oh, good God.
We haven't fully unpacked, but I think we'll find them.
They're usually somewhere.
The reason that I bring this day of the move up is that I know one thing that happened to you on this day of the move, and it seems as though it would have made the move harder. And that is that the one detail that I know from what happened that day that we chatted about is that your car did not work on the day that you had to move.
Yeah, that's the good news was that restoring the car was pretty quick because the issue that it was having was that its battery was unaccountably draining, which has happened before because it is a very old car. And so as soon as it happened, I was pretty sure that that was what it was.
Well, it was there's more to the car story, but there's a prequel too. I want to cut in narratively here, which is that this was like a Chekhov's gun moment with the car where I had traveled out of town 2 weeks before the move to Tennessee, taken the car to the airport because I was only going for the weekend, left it there. And when I went to drive home from the airport, every light, like all the hazard lights in the car came on.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Yeah, just
Oh, no.
everyone.
All at once. And what that means is that you're having an issue with the system that decides whether or not to turn on the lights
Or
on the
the
dashboard.
car's going to explode while you're on the freeway. You don't know. That's the thing with the hazard
God.
lights. You don't know what they mean.
Oh,
So 2 weeks later, when it was time for the move, Zoe got the kids and the dog in the good car and drove away to leave me with the movers. And then in the 20 minutes I had before the movers were going to arrive, I was going to get the other car loaded up. And when I went to turn on the other car, it wouldn't start. So I called the roadside assistance thing, and the roadside assistance person arrived. The other thing was happening at the same time was that there were people who were coming to look at our house, who were considering buying our house, who were like Anyway, it's a long
the
story.
quintessential moving day viewing of the home.
It's a long
That's
story.
the best time to look at a house.
How
Yes.
this ended up happening, but they were like at 6:30 in the morning. It was like, there's people who need to see your house today. When can they come over? And we were like, I don't know. How about not today?
Literally, think of a day that isn't
Any
today.
other
That would be
day.
a good
Yeah.
day.
Oh, no.
The funniest part of it, actually, which I don't even know, Zoe, if I've mentioned this to you, was that in the middle of the chaos, I went back to the guy who was helping with the car. And the guy who was helping with the car was like, so when you sell a house, do you just like get all the money from it?
Oh, dude. Oh, my dude, this is not the time for this conversation.
So I very gently, while he was charging my battery because there was nowhere else to be, explained to
Sure.
him the concept of a mortgage.
Well, and the real blessing there is
Good.
that I wasn't there because I spent years doing residential mortgage-backed securities litigation, and I could have really gotten into it with him.
Okay, so as a result, the guy charges my battery. I get the moving people to leave the driveway so that he can get out. And I say to him before he leaves, I'm like, so what do I need to do here? And he says, it should be fine. You just got to let the battery charge back up. And I said, so how would that work? He said, you just got to drive it around for like 30, 40 minutes. And I said to him, of all the 30, 40 minutes in the world, this one is the one where I can least do that. Can I let it idle? And he said, no, idling is not going to do it. It needs to be moving. So when he left, I then, every few minutes, once the move was underway, and I was sure they were no longer going to like start by hurling all of our flower pots into the back of the truck or whatever, every few minutes for the first 3-4 hours of the move, went out to the car, and I drove it back and forth like 25 feet in the top of our driveway, forward, reverse.
This sounds
forward,
like a blast.
reverse.
Yeah.
Forward.
This sounds like a great time.
I'm seriously getting an anxiety attack. Just
Yeah, our
listening.
driveway is like a windy uphill situation. They pull the moving truck. So David's really just like in and out of the garage. Just like,
Pretty much.
That's rather sexual, Zoe.
nah, the movers didn't care.
Were these movers watching you, imagining that you were just so emotionally tied to this house that you were unable to leave the property without returning, like compulsively?
If the movers paid that much attention to what I was doing, that was the most attention that they paid to anything during the 2 days that they were in our employ.
They weren't like, he's trying to leave, he's back. He's trying to leave, he's back.
No.
Okay.
They were like, this appears to not be bolted to the wall. I'm going to grab it, turn it 90 degrees, and put it in the truck.
I literally last night had a nightmare about moving out of my apartment in New York. So,
Yeah, moving's the worst.
I feel like that's the premise of one of Armat's novels, is a person who's haunted by the dream specter memory of a past move of his.
my most terrifying one, clearly.
Yeah. He goes to sleep and it has to relive his moving day over and over again until he can, whatever,
God.
slay a,
Yeah.
I don't know, cooler creature than I can think up, which is why you're the novelist.
I don't.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Oof.
Well, speaking of cool creatures, why don't we move on over to what I like to call the game that we play?
Yes.
Ooh.
Heck yeah.
I want to take a moment to thank everyone who has left a review of Tabletop Gold at their podcast app of choice. Like, for instance, this user, Jean Willy, could be Jean Willy. I don't know. I'm Frenchifying it. I can do that. That's my prerogative.
Adultifying.
Yes, thank you. Over on Podcast Addict, and they say that that the show is a great way to start their week, and that we do an excellent job teaching the rules of the game. What the French call le règle de jeu is what it is that we've got going on this podcast. Apparently, Armat enjoyed that. That was fun. Nobody else did.
I
Magnifique.
have to say, I
Yeah.
recently got the chance to hang out with a couple of our fans.
In
and
Gen Con,
At Gen Con.
which Robin was at last week. Sorry, to follow up from last week's episode, Robin, it turned out, did not have COVID and did not risk infecting anybody at Gen Con.
Oh.
Just to close,
Yes.
close
Oh, yeah.
that
Following
chapter
that up
off.
because other people did get sick at Gen Con. No, I did not go to Gen Con with COVID.
Yes.
All of my tests were negative. totally COVID free.
Lars, great catch. Master of continuity.
Yes.
When I was listening and editing that episode, I was like, "Oh shit, we need to tie a bow on that one really badly."
Yeah. No, I was totally COVID free. All of my tests came back negative in the end. It was absolute just scare. But feedback I got, Lars.
Yeah.
Don't do that Galt accent again.
Oh, well, you were talking to the guy who hates that accent. Like he is like that. The gentleman that you were speaking to made it clear throughout that run of episodes that he was displeased. Like that is not new information for me.
He was just the most vocal about it. It was a generally held feeling of
everyone hated
let's not do that one again.
All right,
fine. Jean Willy accent hater.
I don't think any of us have control of whether Beffrey comes back, right?
No, she's on her own.
Oh, is Beffrey coming back?
I guess not now. Everybody hated it. Okay, let's do it. Let's get into our show. You've been exploring some of the most ornately built and decorated areas of the fortress below Gauntlight. Areas, it seems, that were regularly inhabited by Belcora Haravex herself. After the allure of a strange magical blue light drew you into a vast octagonal chamber, you realized that you've triggered some sort of alarm. A magical wave of despair rippled over you as 4 disembodied hands leapt off the stone altar at the room's center, and 4 wisps crackling with disorienting electricity popped one by one out of a gash in the stone as well. And now this once quiet room is a whirlwind of danger approaching you from all sides. This is episode 64. That means that next episode is 65. That means that we are in a hero points use or lose situation because we are breaking off another 5. Now, here's the situation. You are in this octagonal room. I want to describe what's on the walls of this room before we get any deeper into this. On the walls surrounding you is this mural. This carved and painted mural that shows graves in a swamp, ghosts escaping from those graves, shrieking as they are being pulled up to a detail in this mural, which is 30 feet above you, directly in the center of the room, 30 feet up at the apex of the room, this enormous eye with this pupil that is like sucking these ghosts in. This is a weird mural, is what I'm trying to tell you. This is, to pull back the curtain for a little bit, this is my favorite room in the adventure that we've gone to so far. I feel like we have been at
literally any room we've been in. Wow.
Yeah, so far. Yeah, I feel like we've been at a 7 on the heavy metal meter so far, and we are pinging at 9 right now.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Leaving a little room, though. I like that.
Where was the guy who tattooed other people's flash sheet carved off of
But
them
that
and
guy
ate
was
it?
a creep. I didn't
So that was like a
that. That was
7.2.
weird.
Okay. Just checking.
-10 as far as I'm concerned.
Wow. Okay.
Now, as we roll initiative, here's the situation. There is this circular stone altar in the middle of this room. The 4 of you are all at the southern end of this room, about 20 feet away from that. And these 4 hands have clambered off, walking on their fingertips, arched hands, scrambling towards you as these 4 flicker wisps, a short distance behind them, crackle and pulsate. And with that table setting done, how about if we roll for initiative? Yeah. Roll for initiative. How did the 4 of you roll for initiative? Starting with Robin. Robin, Trill, it's a good situation when Trill goes early. How's Trill doing this time?
Yeah, it is good for Trill to go early, but Trill, unfortunately, being towards the back of the party, I guess, and being creeped out by bodiless hands? What the heck, Lars? Ended up only rolling a 5 on the die for a 17.
Robin, I'm going to let you know there are 8 combatants ahead of you in this initiative tracker.
Yeah, that don't sound good. That don't sound good.
Zoe, how about you? Are you doing a little better? How did AO roll
A
for
little
initiative?
bit better. Not the strongest roll, but I think she was in there. She was kind of, she's out testing stuff, a little unsure, but also maybe a little more aware than anyone else. 20 initiative roll all in.
Pretty good. The hand that AO hit with this exploratory blast of Foxfire is going directly before AO, which I think is kind of interesting.
I like that.
It got hit, it twitched, and now it's going to move towards you before you get a chance to react, which I think makes some sense.
Yeah, I get it.
David, how did Mag do for initiative?
I think Mag was so wrapped up in concern for AO, who is still, interest in AO who's appeared, but concern for her as she's drawn again toward the light. It was a real distraction, which is why Mag ended up with only a 15 for initiative.
15 initiative, not great. You have 10 combatants ahead of you.
That's
in this
just what
fight.
you
So
want.
I will
the barbarian
I will talk
bringing
to
up the
you.
rear.
Yes,
That's
we
right.
always say.
Should I have all these monsters delay their turns? Is that something I should do?
Yeah, that
Yes.
sounds great.
Oh, okay.
I think
Love
that's
it.
Lovely,
better
really.
for us.
Just long enough for us to get Mark and Jessica in here to
Yes,
spoil them.
Mark.
Oh, yeah, where's our Mark whistle?
Love when Mark comes by for a hang.
That's at a frequency only Mark can hear.
That's right.
I'm coming, guys.
Somewhere in the Otari guard station, Mark says, "They need me."
Like Lassie.
He's outside. He's gardening. He drops his trowel.
I've been called.
All right, Armat, how did Vadim do?
So Vadim did, all things considered, okay. Also, I think taken a little aback by this sudden appearance of dismembered body parts. He got a 19 initiative, which is just behind AO. So I think that puts him 5th in the turn order. So he also is sort of shocked and surprised, I imagine, by and maybe possibly considering what the 7 grooves on this altar stone are, since there were 7 roses in his dream. And so there may be some connection there, I think.
Doke. Numerology.
Okay, here we go. The beginning of round 1. The flicker wisps all start to move towards you steadily and start flashing and strobing to attempt to confuse each of you. That's what they're going to be doing for this round. Here's the turn of that first flicker wisp, which is on the far side of this altar. It floats across the room towards the one of you that is frightened, which is Mag. And as it approaches Mag, this light show starts flickering all over her, dazzling her vision as that happens. I need Mag to make this will save.
Well, it's a 23 to save.
That succeeds.
All
So
right.
Mag is able to shake it off.
Nice.
Good.
But you are still unnerved by the rest of these flickering
I get that.
wisps.
Yeah. Fair enough.
A crawling hand gets up on the tips of its fingers and starts crawling around this ornately carved floor towards Ao. It flexes and leaps towards Ao's face, and Ao sees the tips of 4 fingers extending towards her as it attempts to claw her in the face.
Oh, hell no.
It is a 23 to hit.
And that exactly matches her AC. So I believe on whatever rules you always jockeyed in your favor, you're going to hit.
That's right.
Also, the number 23.
I just rolled a 1 on my damage die. That is 4 damage to Ao.
Ooh, ouch.
And Ao sees this hand go honk and grab a hold of her face. And Ao now has this hand hanging off of her face, and she is now grabbed.
So I think she does not care for this. She's been interested in the light, and she is going to use a hero point card. So this comes from Ryan from Omaha, Nebraska, one of my favorite places in Nebraska. And it's called Nap Time at Preschool. We may remember the fight that this references back on, I think it was floor 2, before we got to the Joffrey situation. Everyone is falling down. So this is triggered by when an enemy succeeds in its athletics check to trip or grapple a hero. And here's what happens. The ground looks pretty comfortable. Wouldn't you rather lie down? Both the creature and the target, meaning I assume the hand and Ao, fall prone, and the hero loses the grappled condition.
Nice. So this hand goes to grab you, and I guess you lie down in reaction. Is that kind of what we're saying?
I don't think it's quite that graceful or smooth, to be honest.
Okay.
I think the hand's there, and it's kind of like a mosquito, right? But like things just go a little bit wrong in an effort to dodge it, as it's probably trying to get a hold of her snout, and she kind of is like
definitely
trying to get it off, and like ends up in whacking it, kind of like whacking too hard and doing a little bit of a tumble so that they're both on the ground.
And this hand is now planted plain on the back of its hands, and it is twisting its fingers around helplessly in the air.
Right.
As Ao also crumples to the ground. Good use of a hero point card. Thank you so much to Ryan from Omaha.
Woo!
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan.
For joining our game.
And now that Ao is prone and on the ground, another crawling hand is going to run up next to her, scampering, and it just tries to claw at her face as well. Here is a claw strike. I'm rolling extremely well tonight, by the way. I just rolled a 17 on the die for a 24.
Oh, that time it misses.
Okay.
No, that hits, especially because she's prone.
So Ao's going to take 5 points of damage that time and is now, again, grabbed. This disembodied hand clamps down on Ao's snout, and Ao is now subject to this creature's grip throat skill, which says that she is going to have difficulty speaking and must spend an extra action to perform any action with the verbal trait.
Oh,
Dang.
boo.
It's now Ao's turn.
Okay, so Ao is pissed. She sort of just like is casting around. You know, she had Foxfire at the ready. She's casting around, not in a spell sense, because she can't do that because something's at her throat. And she fires off Foxfire at the Flicker Wisp that is just to the north of the one that's near Matt, because she can kind of see that from where she's at on the ground. And that is a 22 to hit.
Yeah, so that 22 to hit hits, even though you're prone, even though it is sort of far away from you.
Woo!
Great attack roll. Your Foxfire jumps out and manages to hit this Flicker Wisp.
For a total of 9.
Nice.
That's not nothing, and that was one action. You've taken off about half of this Flicker Wisp's hit points as it is sparkling much less aggressively at you.
Well done.
And she just fires at it again for a 20 to hit.
That just hits. A desperate second attack manages to connect with this Flicker Wisp.
And that does a total of 11 points of damage the second time.
And with that, 2 desperate blasts of Foxfire, this Flicker Wisp disintegrates in midair before it has had the chance to attack.
Awesome.
Yes!
What the hell are these things? Ao says, and with her third action, she stands up.
So you're immobilized because you are grabbed and you are not able to stand up.
Can she try to use an athletics check to fight the handoff then? Or acrobatics?
Yes, but it is going to be at a -10 because that is an attack.
Oh.
But you can absolutely give it a shot. This is just a little hand.
But a wee hand. Is it acrobatics or athletics?
Either one.
All right. She's gonna try. She's really flailing, right? So she's gonna try to sort of ride that from under the hand using acrobatics to sort of like maybe almost shimmy along on her back. 22, but -10 is a 12.
And that's not going to do it. This hand holds you in place.
Ugh. Get him!
As Vadim hears Ao shout, "Get him!" he decides it's time to get him. What is Vadim going to do?
So,
Get 'em.
snapping to attention after the sort of moment of stunned at all the baddies that have just appeared, Vadim will step forward and do that thing he do and make a double slice at the hand that is grappling Ao.
And you notice that this hand is covered with scorch marks. This is the hand that Ao hit with the foxfire.
Awesome. So let's see. That is...
Slashing the hand that strangles you.
Slicing that hand into a million pieces.
Oh, I love it.
I try just to get girl.
That is
Sorry, I
a
love that movie so much.
30 to hit with Vigilance and a 28 to hit with the Dagger of Venom.
Those are both critical hits.
Ha! Cool. Terrible critical damage roll for Vigilance, but pretty good for the Dagger of Venom. That is a total of 32 damage.
Yeah, so this is maybe the most outrageous overkill that you have ever done on,
Literal overkill.
on a creature. Yeah, Vadim steps up to this hand that is wrapped around Ao's snout and just obliterates it with 2 surgical strikes.
Just minced in midair.
Minced. Finely chopped, as the New York Times cooking section sometimes tells me, in a way that baffles me as to exactly how chopped I'm supposed to chop it.
Finally.
Consider the Aldori dueling sword. It slices, it dices, it does everything you want, like a Ginsu, but better. It's a beautiful weapon.
It is a beautiful weapon. And you know what else it is? It's time for this flicker wisp. These flicker wisps has been floating across the room. One of them floats over towards Vadim now, and Vadim sees stars, streaks of crazy bright light flashing in his eyes. And I need you to make a will save.
Alrighty. 22.
And you shake it off. You are not confused by what it is that's happening.
Not
And
today,
as Vadim
friend.
shakes his head to clear the cobwebs of this light show, he looks up just in time to see a hand flying through the air, propelled at his face. That is an 11 to hit.
That will not
Bam.
connect, which is good because I think Vadim and I were both feeling a little claustrophobic.
Oh.
In revenge for that pun, it slices at you one more time as it falls to the ground and rolls a 14 to hit.
Vadim will nimbly dodge out of the way.
Lars, you had been saying something about rolling really well. What was that before?
That was then. This is now, baby. Now I'm rolling like shit. And as the hand falls on the ground perfectly on its 5 fingers, Trill sees that it is time to act.
Trill's going to start off with some lingering composition.
Woo.
And I ended up rolling a 25.
That's a success. Your next composition cantrip goes 3 rounds and you spend a focus point.
So, in the chat, can everyone add that, or do I need to?
They can.
So go ahead and add that onto your character.
Is it okay if I give some of my hands that too, please?
No. The hands don't get that.
Sound right.
For Trill's second action, Trill's going to recall knowledge on Flicker Wisps to see what she's missing about that with her Wisp lore.
Sure. Go ahead and make a Whistler check. Private, please. So, Trill taps into her knowledge of wisps and comes up with a lot of things that she knows about flicker wisps. Is there anything that you want to know in particular?
Do we need to worry about them? Are they going to go invisible on us? Are they going to go?
They're not going to go invisible. They're not going to become hidden.
Yeah.
The thing that Trill is worried about as she considers these flicker wisps is if any of them manage to actually confuse one of you, it could be a very bad turning point in this fight. Because one, being confused is horrible. You know stories of flicker wisps who have gone into adventuring parties, successfully confused one of them, and that one strikes down everybody else in the party. So that is at the forefront of Trill's mind. But Trill also knows that flicker wisps can consume confusion, which extends, essentially they circle around, they eat this sense of confusion. It becomes stronger and it keeps its enemy confused.
So corpse lights fed off fear.
Will-o-wisps fed off fear.
Right.
Flicker wisps feed off confusion. If one of these manages to confuse any of your friends with this light show that they keep doing, it could be very, very bad.
Very bad.
Very bad. And does she also get anything about what their maybe weakest save is?
Yeah, Trill gets a strong enough sense of these that she gets the sense that fortitude is their weakest save.
Okay. So with her third action then, she's going to prepare to aid Mag with a performance check.
As her hand falls to the position of strumming her flute. Nope. Strumming her lute. The hand a short distance away tenses its fingertips and jumps towards Trill, attacking her directly with a claw to attempt to grab her and stop her from doing that. That is a 17 to hit.
Nope.
And then it stabs at her feet repeatedly with another 17 to hit.
Nope. Trill is quick and jumps around like a little jester.
As Trill dances around with this foot, trying to scramble and get a hold of her, it is now Mag's turn. Mag is frightened by this aura in this room.
Yes. Mag was initially pretty concerned about these hands jumping at everybody's faces, but in the last little while, it's become clear that they're kind of ineffectual and they don't do a ton of damage.
I'm rolling really badly, David. Thank you.
Mag is going to start by striking the wisp that began the combat by coming all the way down and approaching her. So, all right, so 24 to hit.
And Trill also is going to help with that. Trill does a performance check. Performance check is a 33. I believe that's going to add +2.
Yeah, that's a critical success in the performance check, which means that this attack is going to get a +2. That is actually a 26 to hit.
Bam.
Which is a hit.
And that is 19 damage.
19 is bigger than 18, which is the number of hit points that this flicker wisp has. Mag swings around, inspired by Trill's music, and slices through this flicker wisp that had been flashing in her face.
Woo!
Now she has 2 more actions.
Yeah. Okay, well, Mag is going to do a sudden charge to the northern part of the room, which involves skirting just past the blue light at its center to take on the remaining wisp that has not yet moved, and then a melee strike against it. Yikes, that's only a 16 to hit.
2 on the die. With Mag being as frightened as she is, that is not going to hit.
And that's Mag's turn.
This wisp in front of Mag, she charges forward, misses with this off-balance sword swing, and suddenly it is like 1,000 flashbulbs going off at once in Mag's face.
No!
I need Mag to make this will save. make this extremely important will save.
This extremely important will save is a 26.
Okay, you pass.
Bum, bum, bum. Da 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 da.
This flicker wisp just shocks forward at Mag, trying to electrocute her. That's a 23 to hit.
23 will hit.
And Mag gets electrocuted for 4 points of damage.
Mag chuckles.
And here's the situation as it stands. In the middle of this room, there's this altar with these 7 blue gashes cut through it. Mag is standing right next to that altar, facing off with this flicker wisp. A short distance behind her to the south, it's a real situation. Ao is lying on the ground next to one of these hands that is about to jump up to try to attack her again. Vadim and Trill both have hands attempting to slash at them, to stab at them, to take them down. And another flicker wisp right next to Vadim is about to attempt to confuse him once again. Let's see what happens here in round 2. First up, it is the prone hand. That prone hand is going to wriggle and slowly turn itself back on its fingertips to then try to slash at Ao one more time. It's a 14 to hit.
That's a failure.
And it does it again. That's a 16 to hit.
Still not.
No.
Higher, but not high enough.
And with that, it is Ao's turn. Ao is no longer grabbed because Vadim had obliterated that hand, but she is prone. And there is a hand right next to her. What is she going to do?
Like, can we flank these hands? Am I flanking the hand with Trill?
You're not, because it's sharing a space with Trill. If you were to back up and make it so there's a full space, that it wasn't sharing a space with either one of you, then you'd be flanking it.
Okay. So, Ao stands up. What the fuck are these hands? She says. She steps one step back towards the light, and she slashes out at it, now flanked between her and Trill with Mark, her rapier. That's a 23.
And because it is distracted by you and Trill, because you are flanking it, that is a critical hit.
Ooh!
Nice.
And that's 11 damage. Pinky finger gone.
The pinky finger gone, it is a massive wound on this hand. And as Ao stabs forward at the hand, it is now Vadim's turn. Vadim is standing in a triangle of hands. They are clamoring all over the place, all around him. What is he going to do?
Seeing that Trill is still being menaced by one of the hands, he is going to launch into a double strike at that hand. So that is a 26 to hit with Vigilance and a 29 to hit with the Dagger of Venom.
Both critical hits. Both of these swords flash in front of Trill's face and connect with this hand.
That is 48 points of damage to the hand.
And that's a new record in Overkill,
Wow.
beating the last record in Overkill as you
Vadim.
just
Dang.
slice the hell out of this hand that
Seriously.
collapses on the ground in front of Trill.
And then I think with his last action, emboldened by his successes, he'll make a third dagger strike at the hand that Ao was just targeting,
Like a slug.
which is a 10 to hit. So probably
Just
not
barely
the
a
best
miss. Just barely a miss. The hand manages to dodge out of the way, and the dagger clang against this ornate carved stone floor. As the dagger clangs against the stone floor, it lets off a little bit of a spark that catches Vadim's eye, and he notices that there are a million more sparks flickering all around him as this flicker wisp again puts on this light show, and I need Vadim to make this will save.
Okay. That's a 20 on the die for a critical success at 32.
Okay, great. No, it's fine. So
Everything's great. Everything's fine.
what that means is that Vadim is now immune to this light show for 24 hours. He is completely immune to the charms of this wisp.
It's delightful.
He laughs arrogantly as he passes this will save, and a hand jumps up and grabs a hold of him. That's an 18 to hit.
That will not connect. And I think the way I imagine it is Vadim just bats at the hand with vigilance, able to knock it off course.
Like a fly swatter.
And you extend your hand to bat it, and it slices again at your hand for an 18 as it tries to evade this hit.
And this one, he just manages to bob out of the way.
Okay, it scampers away to the edge of the room. It gets the hell out of there. It is now Trill's turn.
So Trill sees this guy who just crawled away from Vadim, this sad little crawling hand who was mad that he kept getting batted down, and Trill says, "Not so fast!" And Trill's going to go ahead and cast Acid Splash at him. And that's a 31.
That is a massive critical hit as this globule of acid sears into this disembodied hand, and you hear it sizzle.
So Trill ended up rolling 16 damage.
Plus 2 splash damage on that critical hit.
Oh, yes.
Plus 2 persistent acid damage on that critical hit.
Yes.
But you know what? That persistent acid damage doesn't matter because this hand has 18 hit points exactly, meaning that splash damage is all it takes to one-shot this hand with a globule of acid.
Woo-hoo. I like to think that he's just like the Wicked Witch, because I think that the acid splash is a very green-looking gel of energy that comes out of her loot. And as this green splash hits that hand, if he could say I'm melting, he would, or she or they would, this hand would scream out, "I'm melting."
Instead, you just see it twitch in a truly disturbing way that will forever be burned into your nightmares.
With Trill's final action, Trill is going to continue to support Mag.
All right, Trill prepares to aid, her hand dropping in position to play the lute as Mag, on the further away, in the middle of the room, 20 feet away from Trill, is squared off against one of these wisps.
Well, it worked last time, so let's start by hitting the one next to me, and then we'll go run down and hit the other one. This is a great game.
So Trill will roll that performance check as well to help you out.
Yeah, I might need it.
Trill rolled a 31.
Another critical success, plus 2 to Mag's attack roll.
Which makes it a 25.
25 is absolutely a hit.
Yeah. So the art's going to be 22 damage.
Will that do it?
Yeah, that'll do it.
Wow.
We keep destroying his beautiful game.
Mag bashes with the aid of Trill into this flicker wisp and cuts it down, a shower of sparks falling on the stone floor by the altar.
Mag lets out a little whoop.
Whoop. Whoop.
Which just sounds like a whoop, because, no need to rage in this fight. And,
Oh!
This is a severe encounter, by the way.
Okay.
Murdered by words.
I'm just about to stage
severe
my
for
comeback
whom?
against you. Hey, how dare you? How dare you?
And she will move just a little bit laterally over here to where she can flank the remaining wisp. And then she'll strike out at it. That's a 21 to hit. I'll hero point that.
Yeah.
That was actually a 16 to hit because it was your second attack.
Oh, I thought they had to be on the same adversary.
Mm-mm.
No.
The idea is that you are being thrown off balance and exerting yourself, and that's what's reflected by that.
I see. Well, all right. Hero point it. That is a 26 to hit, even with the map.
That hero point paid off for sure because that's another hit.
Yeah, it is.
Hell yeah.
And here's some more damage. I didn't quite get it that time. It's only 12.
It is now the beginning of round 3. And what was once a very noisy room has become a little quieter as there is just one flicker wisp and one crawling hand, both of them pretty badly injured in this room as you are surrounded by and oppressed by this obscene mural all around you. This crawling hand at the beginning of round 3 is going to leap up into the air and attempt to slash at Trill.
Oh, rude.
That's a 26 to hit.
That hits.
Glimpse,
Trill
please.
takes a total... Okay. Trill would have taken 5 damage, and I think as is now going to take no damage.
I believe that's correct. Vadim.
As this hand refuses to glimpse Pharasma's redemptive energy, becomes enfeebled too, and grabs a hold of Trill, holding her in place.
Well, thank you, Vadim.
Of course.
It's now Ao's turn. 10 short feet away from Trill, who has just been grabbed by a hand. What will Ao do?
Get this thing off me!
So I think Ao's distressed by the grabbing hands, even though this flicker wisp is probably the bigger threat. Like, I think she's just been grabbed. So she takes a step forward and then get off of her, slashes out twice with Mark.
All right, let's see if you need to do that second one. You may kill it the first time.
That is an 18 to hit the first time.
That hits.
For 9 damage.
9 points of damage is enough to send this hand crumbling off of Trill, leaving her ungrabbed as it falls to the ground, backside down.
Ugh, that thing smells.
The grabbing hands grabbed all they can, all for themselves, after all.
It was like
But now they're all gone.
sweaty and clammy. It was gross.
And then with her third action, behind her back, Ao sticks her hand out and goes, "And you stay away from them," and throws Foxfire back at the flicker wisp that's behind her. That, unfortunately, is a 1 on the die.
A fumble card because you fumbled hard.
You know what? I'm going to hero point it.
Okay.
I got 1 left. I feel like we got this under control. Let's see how it goes. And then Ao, in a new version of herself, better, smoother, foxier, reaches back behind her and throws Fox. Oh my god.
Oh, I hate that.
Oh my god.
I hate that.
Ao,
That's
in an
amazing.
identical
Boy.
version to herself,
Slash
does the
terrible.
same thing, but now has no hero points.
Okay. This ranged critical fumble card is called Lowered Guard. You provoke reactions as if you used a move action. It doesn't do anything.
Right, because no one has responses. Well, in
Yeah,
any
no one
time.
has a reaction. I like the idea, though, that Ao dug deep and came
just
up with the exact same
The
result.
same thing happened.
I mean, that's what I feel like life is, to be honest.
Yeah. You're like, I can, and then it's just the same.
I'm going to
fucking
use
thing.
all my available resources and wherewithal to give that another shot.
And it's the same goddamn thing.
Yeah, and just now your other nostril's bleeding.
Yeah.
Well, with that, it is Vadim's turn. He is flanking this flicker wisp with Mag, the only combatant left in the room. What will Vadim do?
He is going to return to town. No, obviously, double slice, just whips his blades out in a quick scissoring motion. That is a 23 and a 22 to hit.
Both of those hit.
That is 28 points of damage.
Overkill is the word of the day as Vadim slices through. Vadim has been. I just want let's just pause the game for a brief moment and talk about what it is that we've learned in the last couple of sessions.
Get the man an unnecessary hero point right now.
Yeah, sure. You get one of those. Vadim level 5 is a beast.
Yes, this is nuts. This is nuts.
Like, what on earth? Like you've rolled more critical hits in these last two sessions, I think, than you have in the entirety of the 60 that preceded them.
Yeah, the dice have been with me of late, and I'll take it. I will take it.
It turns out all you needed was a +3 to your strikes, and suddenly you're unstoppable.
Who knew?
I'll take it.
So as Vadim cuts through that last of these flicker wisps, you are here by yourselves in this octagonal chamber with this macabre mural all over the walls and ceiling, and just this eye staring down at you from above. There's this altar in the middle of the room, and there are 2 doors leading out, one to the west and one to the east. You guys got pretty beat up here. Is that true? Am I lying to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am. You didn't really get beat up at all. What do you guys want to do right now in this upsetting room that still is making Mag a little uneasy?
First question. How high is the ceiling? How high is that eye in the ceiling?
30 feet up, directly above the altar.
And how high is the altar off the ground?
The altar is not very high off the ground at all. It's 3 feet off the ground.
And Trill is too heavy to be lifted by Mage Hand.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Because Trill wants to get a closer look at that eye and like all of the art on the wall.
How far do we think Mag could toss Trill in the air and still reliably catch her? I'm not. I don't even know if I'm joking. Like if Trill wants to get up there,
I think the issue is, can Trill it's just tossing her, so Trill can't really get up there and then look at it. It's just if you're just tossing her
you
up
get
there.
a passing glance from somewhat closer.
I mean, she's had, she probably had some time in the circus. She's got some acrobatics.
And with assurance in athletics, I can guarantee myself a 7.
Oh,
check.
wow. Yeah. Is there maybe some things on the wall that she could get up on to try and give herself?
Oh.
Yeah.
So if you want to try to climb up the wall, that's going to be more of an athletics check to climb.
Well, no, but for Mag to toss her up and then just have her be able to balance and stuff along the higher ups.
Well, the issue here is that this is like a big dome, and the eye is the farthest point from you. So there's not really any wall around if you're in the middle of the room trying to get up to that eye.
Do we have, I know we got rope, but do we have a grappling hook on the end of a rope?
I have one listed in my backpack, but
you guys definitely have a grappling hook.
Yeah.
You guys definitely have a grappling hook.
Nice. Can we try and toss it up there, and we'll climb, and I can climb up there and check that eye out?
Sure.
Yeah, so you can throw a grappling hook with a rope tied to it to make it climb easier. To anchor a grappling hook, make an attack roll with the secret trait. You have to blind check it for me.
Okay.
Against a DC, depending on the target, typically at least DC 20. I'm going to say this is a little higher than that because this is just like an eye. I'm going to say that in this stone eye at the top of this room, there is a tiny little hole in the pupil of the eye. On a success, your hook has a firm hold, but on a critical failure, the hook seems like it'll hold, but actually falls when you're partway up.
Okay.
Love that.
So when you say an attack roll, would that be like an athletics check on the part of the thrower?
It would be like I'd have you to roll like an unarmed attack roll.
Go ahead, Mag.
Eh?
And it would be a dex. It would be like a ranged attack roll. So it'd be somebody with good dex should probably do this.
No, I think one of us actually opted into a dex build.
Oh, the dex build.
Finally, this is going to pay off.
Who wants to try that dex build throw?
Well, someday I might need to throw a grappling hook into a grappling hook shaped hole in a sculpture.
This is where it turns out I've gone full on grappling hook build. This is
Love
what
it.
Who knew?
Ustalavians love that hook.
Vadim means a champion of the grappling hook. And
I feel like while everyone is behind her figuring out this stuff, Ao has just wandered up to the light and is like looking at it and looks up and like just sends her mage hand up to sort of get us. Like she hears everyone behind her sort of
rummaging
squabbling
around in
over,
our backpacks.
like how to do this, and she's like, "Yeah, what is it?" And just sends it up there to see if she can figure anything out.
So Ao's mage hand is able to reach up to the top of this room, feeling around to see if there's anything hidden up there. You don't find anything. But if Ao were to overhear this plan about the grappling hook, I would say that mage hand could potentially give a little bit of a bonus to that attack roll.
it could catch the grappling hook
Right, exactly.
and then put it where it needs to go.
Yeah. So I would say an aid check from Ao to say that the mage hand is attempting to help this grappling hook find its target.
Just throw it up there. It's taking forever.
So Vadim takes the grappling hook and starts swinging it. And then at the apex of one of his rotations, he launches it up towards where the mage hand is sort of nearby.
And I'll say that for Ao, this aid can be either thievery or occultism to replicate the manual dexterity and the magic part of it. Either one of those could be Ao's aid roll.
Okay, she's going thievery.
So there's a blind attack roll for you, Lars.
Got it. And how did Ao's aid go?
25 to aid.
The mage hand grabs a hold of this grappling hook and helps guide it into a better place as it flies up from Vadim's hand. And the grappling hook stays in place, trailing this rope behind it.
Or does
Hey.
Vadim gives it a tug to make sure it feels like it's anchored.
It feels okay.
Okay.
All right.
So I figure Trill's the smallest, so Trill can climb up. Now, I know you're going to say athletics, but I want to argue for acrobatics.
Okay.
Because to climb a rope, you don't just need to climb with your arms. I have no strength and I can climb up a rope only because I know how to actually just use my body to climb up a rope. It is not just about being strong. And Trill's very acrobatic.
I'll say that this is going to take a little bit of extra time. I think that if you were to attempt to climb this normally, you'd be able to get it done pretty quickly, but that Trill can definitely attempt to use her acrobatic skill to get up the rope in about 10 minutes.
Okay. Blind check?
No, don't worry about the check.
Oh, okay.
It's nonsense anyway, this acrobatics check you're
Fantastic.
trying to do.
It was a really good roll anyway.
It was really good. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, great check. You did it. It takes 10 minutes.
So Trill gets up to the top of the rope and she starts looking at this big creepy eye and investigating it.
Hey, Vadim, she's climbing that rope really slowly. Can you heal me while she's doing that?
Oh,
I don't know why it's taking so long.
yeah, I thought she was in the circus or something. Yes, of course. Come here.
Thanks.
Vadim will lay on hands for Ao.
And as Phrasma's healing energy washes over this surly kitsune, Trill gets right up close to this eye. And what sort of thing are you looking for up here?
So Trill's looking for she's trying to look at what the carvings are. She's trying to, I guess, see if I'm guessing from the checks that she's done on carvings before, this would relate to her occult knowledge. what she can what information and memories she can garner from what this eye is. What does it relate to? What's the connection between the shape of this dome and everything else? What is the purpose of this room? And what does this eye represent?
So as Trill
is there any power also? And in being closer to it, is there any magic up here now that she's further than 30 feet from it?
So Trill is trying to sense magic coming from this eye and does not. But as she comes face to face with this enormous stone carved thing, as her feet dangling around this rope, she is way high up in the air. Like Trill is 3.5, 4 feet tall.
Yeah.
And she's 30 feet up in the air. This is no small accomplishment. And you are convinced, as you see this eye, that it is absolutely a religious symbol.
Damn it. Oh, wait, no, I'm okay with religion now.
So if you want to take a look at this eye, I'm going to give you a bonus to this check that I just threw in chat because of how close you are to this carved eye, but go ahead and give me that roll. Got it. Trill sees this eye, sees this swamp, sees these ghosts. From where she is positioned, she's able to look down at these shrieking ghosts approaching her up from around this mural. And she gets the sense that she is in a position to eat these ghosts. And she is convinced that this is a shrine. This room, this whole thing is a shrine dedicated to Nimbleoth.
Yikes.
The outer god of despair, ghosts, and swamps. Trill, tapping into her religious knowledge, knows that these shrines to Nimbleoth, one, are incredibly rare, but two, where they exist, are empty. There are no furnishings, there's no statues, there's no benches, and this is meant to symbolize the emptiness of death itself. She looks down and sees this altar with her friends tending to their wounds and kind of milling around it, and is able to visualize worshipers kneeling, prostrating themselves on the floor, surrounding the altar, while a priest perhaps would have led sermons and conducted sacrifices at this altar.
So this isn't just like the small little altar in Velcora's office that we saw before. This is a major worship site to Nimbleoth that we've never seen anything like before, because these things aren't usually above ground, it seems.
That's right. Absolutely. This is something that you have heard about, something you have read about. You know, like you just got trained in religion, so one imagines, given that you've been exposed to Nimbleoth a fair amount lately, that was a focus of your studies as you put this together.
Most of Trill's religion has really been all about this kind of dark necromantic religion.
I'm going to say one more thing. Because you are in this position, you're able to see down to this stone altar with this faint blue glow coming out of it. And you're also able to see like 100 feet away down to this blue and white wall at the far end of this hallway. And you see there's a moment where Vadim's hand absent-mindedly touches the altar. And you see that blue-white energy wall 100 feet away at the end of this long hallway fluctuate just a little bit. As though the spirits of Belcora's fallen enemies in that wall are interested in what it is that is placed upon the altar, but that nothing that you've put on it so far is meaningful to them. As Vadim's hand brushes across the altar, there's a brief, tiny little reaction, and the spirits in this wall 100 feet away from you flicker for a moment, but then nothing comes of it.
So that's the wall of the spirits that our group needs to try and get past with the four tokens of
one of each. Yeah.
of the
And
rose
it seems like maybe
guard,
we
Yeah,
set
the
them
rose
on
guard.
this altar to get past it. That's the sense I'm now getting.
yeah.
So Trill's watching all of this, and her eyes go wide when she notices that light at the end of the hall flicker as Vadim touches the altar. She looks around and she's making all these connections. Is anyone talking while she's up there? Are there anything else going on besides some healing?
What the fuck is she doing up there? I think Ayla's just kind of like talking dirt. I don't think it's useful, but like, she's just kind of like.
Vadim, would you mind a quick lay on hands for me as well?
Oh, of course. No problem.
That last fight left me very slightly itchy.
And I think this is a scenario where Vadim can also use... Oh, no, never mind. Mercy does not apply. Oh, no, it does. I can use lay on hands to try and counteract the frightened condition on Meg in this place.
Oh.
So he will use Mercy and lay on hands.
Okay, so give me a counteract check, which would be a spell attack roll, basically.
Okay, cool.
So let's explain the rules for counteract checks. This is the most complicated thing in the game. And I know we're running late on time right now, but I don't want to let this pass without explaining it a little bit for our audience. First off, tell me what Vadim rolled on this counteract check to see if he can stop Mag's fear.
10 on the die for a 21 total.
Okay. So when you do a counteract check, there are 4 things that you need to know. One is the counteract level that Vadim is using to attempt to stop this magical effect. It's essentially the level of his spell that he's using here, which is a level 3 lay on hands. That's Vadim's counteract level. Then there's the counteract level of the magical effect that Vadim is trying to counteract. That is unknown to Vadim because this is a crazy temple that he doesn't know everything about. Then we also need to know what Vadim rolled on his check. That is a 21. And we also need to know the DC of the spellcaster who created this magical effect that he's trying to counteract, which again is unknown to you. If Vadim... Oh God. Okay, now I have to look up these rolls.
Do you want me to make them up?
You're doing an amazing job with this, though.
Yeah.
Counteract is so fucking
This
complicated.
is a complicated mechanic.
It's the most complicated
brutal.
mechanic in the game. If Vadim's 21 beats the DC of the spellcaster that put this magical effect in place, then he can counteract this effect if that effect is a spell of 1 level higher than his counteract level. So he used a level 3 lay on hands. If he beat the DC, he can undo a level 4 magical effect. If he failed, he can counteract anything lower than his lay on hands, which would be a level 2 spell or lower. If he critically succeeds, he can counteract more powerful magic, and if he critically fails, he can't counteract anything. So I will just let you know that with that 21 on Vadim's counteract check and that level 3 lay on hands that he used to attempt this counteract, Mag does not feel any less frightened.
Well, as all that was happening, Trill starts coming down the rope. She does a dismount. If you ever watched like Cirque du Soleil or anything where they do, it's called Spanish Web or at least Corde de Lycée. Where it spins around. One of my favorite dismounts is where you wrap it around your waist and you roll down it essentially so that you spin around like a top on its side. So Trill does that to come down.
Is that what did Pink do that at the Grammys?
Yeah,
one
she
year?
did. Yeah.
Love that. One of my all-time favorite Grammy performances, Pink doing the old Spanish Web at the Grammys.
I did the Spanish Web one year when I was at my arts camp. One of my favorite circus acts.
Well, I'm imagining that all of you are stunned by the elegance and difficulty of what it is that Trill is doing.
Hey, she rolled a 31 on her acrobatics check. I think she can do that
Yeah.
coming down.
Oh,
Seems
I guess she
reasonable.
was in the circus. That's amazing.
It's just for, a couple months. No big deal.
So she comes down and she explains everything that she saw, how this is it seems like a major temple, like this whole room, altar to Nimbaloth, and that blue light down the end that they'd started to figure out was that wall, that when she saw Vadim touch it, had a response, and the connections that she made and all the things we talked about. She transmits all of that information to everyone.
Well, I think we should get back to, she kind of like doesn't explain that she's a fox, but she's like, that guy we thought was Joel Mesman was that way. Like, if I'm gonna, should we go that way?
Is there anything else to investigate in this room, Lars? Have we gotten to the any nooks, crannies?
Mag starts searching the room and does not see anything else of interest in here.
All right. Well, so she'll head. Ao's suggesting we go to the door to the east. Yeah, that would
Correct.
In theory would kind of circle back around to where the werewolf
sort
was.
of.
Yeah. All right. Mag's up for it.
Vadim follows.
Did we inspect the walls of the room to see if there was anything else hidden along the walls?
Yeah, Mag has just spent a few minutes looking around the walls of the room and did not find anything that jumps out aside from this terrifying expressionist depiction of ghosts being sucked towards this eye.
I feel like it's very Guernica.
It's very Guernica. It's very Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. Pick your poison.
Very nice.
Okay. Next door.
Mag?
Mag opens the door. Yeah.
Mag opens the door and steps through it, feeling this fear pass away from her. As stepping out of this room seems to relieve her of this magical uneasiness. And she steps into a hallway that stretches off to the north and the south. And the walls of this 5-foot wide hallway shimmer and ripple with faint whirls of pale blue energy. In front of her are steps that lead up to the north, and behind her are steps that lead down to the south. And she's able to see a small landing after those steps to the north and a small landing after those steps to the south.
Well, just by dead reckoning, if we're trying to get back to where we saw Jal Mesman, that would be moving south and down. So Mag will continue down the hall that way.
Plus it's clockwise. Gail mumbles to herself.
As Mag gets to the bottom of those stairs, she sees there is a hallway that extends to the east with 2 sets of stairs hitting landings leading off to the east. There is a door midway through this hallway. And these stairs leading down look as though they turn another 90-degree angle off to the north with more stairs after that. Mag at this point, I think, is able to get the sense that this hallway with these stairs is essentially looks like it's a big square.
Yeah.
As we're walking, Trill is doing her thing of running her hands along the wall, trying to see if there's any secret doors, as always.
Sure. So Trill starts searching for anything around this hallway.
Mag is feeling very guarded, very watchful. I mean, most of the time that we've been moving through this ruin, when adversaries have appeared, it's been somewhat sudden, versus only a small handful of times when we've been proactively trying to go back and find something that we knew was there. That we came back for the river drake that way, we came back for the tattooist that way. But it's a different feeling to be kind of gearing up for an encounter rather than reacting to one. So she's pretty guarded. She's pretty watchful, even by Mag standards. I think, and I think she'd try the door partway down this hallway leading south, because again, that it feels like that's the way to circle back to that kind of that landing in the cavern where we first saw Jaw. I mean, that's what we're doing, right, y'all? Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Jaw.
Yeah.
Ao sniffs at the door to see if she can smell wolf.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, give me either a perception or a survival check. Blind. So Ao puts her snout to the edge of this door and sniffs all around it. And definitely smells wolf on the other side.
They're in there. Draw your fucking weapons.
Mag draws her fucking weapon.
Vadim draws his fucking weapons.
Trill starts whispering shield. The spell.
Okay.
Mag tightens her grip on the sword and sort of working the leather of the hilt of the sword in her hands to get an extra grip, and checks back with the others, makes brief eye contact with each one of them, nods to each, and then opens the door.
And that door opens out into the same large chamber that you passed through earlier. This is the large natural cavern with a lake within it. When you were at another side of this, you saw that that lake looked like it was about 15 feet deep, full of water. And from that previous angle, you saw that there was this pavilion elevated 10 feet above the water, another ornate stone-carved platform. You're now standing at the entrance to that pavilion, looking down into the lake below you.
And Ale holds up a finger. I think Mag's in front, but she sort of gestures around to everyone. And she uses Illusory Object, which is a spell she now has. And she conjures a wolf pup in hopes of sort of like distracting their attention down that way so the party can move up.
Okay. So those figures that Zoe just referred to is in the middle of this pavilion, there is this campfire. And you do see those two creatures that you saw previously. A large man with filthy black hair and dirt all over his face, and an enormous wolf by his side. They're both eating a big chunk of meat, sharing it together, eating it frantically. And they turn to see this wolf pup, this magical illusion that Ao has just created on this pavilion. The wolf by this man immediately leaps up as he frantically goes like, "Ah!" and barks at the wolf and points at this wolf pup.
She's like basically trying to get them to kind of turn their backs on them, right? Like,
Sure.
Yeah. Turn away
Totally.
from, and Mag will be looking for any sign that their attention is fully occupied by this thing to try to move further south and in better range, undetected.
Sure. So let's play this out and see how close you are going to be able to get, and see what kind of disadvantage they get on their initiative based on how this plays out. What mechanically this wolf is going to do is going to attempt to disbelieve this illusion, which means that it's going to trot up to this wolf pup with its hair sticking straight up, its ears pointed straight forward, its teeth bared, as it runs up to it to try to sniff at it to get a sense of what it is that's going on. This spell, Illusory Object, at first level, does not generate any smells.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens with this wolf's perception check as it attempts to disbelieve this illusion. It's a pretty bad roll as this wolf runs up to this illusory pup that Ao has generated, sniffs at it a couple times, and turns back to the man sitting by the campfire and just goes, as they look both pretty confused by this situation. This man has gotten up by this point and has drawn a weapon and is also walking over towards that wolf pup. And I think this is basically your chance in this moment to take advantage of what is going to probably be a momentary distraction.
I mean, I don't know how this plays out mechanically, but Mag would rage and charge.
I'll say that as soon as Mag rages and charges, I'm going to call that a hostile action, and that's going to trigger combat. So if anybody else wants to do something else to position, to get an advantage as these two have their backs turned, that is something that you could do.
Ao draws out a wand and chompers.
Vadim is, I think, just going to follow Mag's lead and charge in as well.
Trill is... She's whispering the tunes of the spell over and over, lightly playing, singing what she needs to sing to cause that spell to keep going, protecting herself.
You're able to, as a group, get up about 25 feet away from these two as you sort of gently sneak up, treading across this walkway above this lake. And then what happens?
Rather than raging with a great cry, a great sort of outpouring, it's more of a smolder. It's like turning up the heat in a furnace. And so as she gets closer and closer, the red glow begins emanating from her hair, from the braid at the back of her head, and from her eyes. And her breath gets heavier, and the grip on her sword gets tighter, and she takes just a great draw in of breath to enter her rage.
And as you start to charge forward, the hand of this man washes through this illusory wolf, and he turns around and starts to issue a sudden bark as Mag begins to charge towards him, but the two of them are at an incredible disadvantage as the four of you leap forward across this pavilion. And we will pick up from there next time.
The Roots of Ruin is a Tabletop Gold production, produced under the Paizo Incorporated Community Use Policy. The Roots of Ruin uses trademarks and/or copyrights owned by Paizo Inc., used under Paizo's Community Use Policy. We are expressly prohibited from charging you to use or access this content. Paizo does not recognize, endorse, or sponsor this project in any way. Original characters and content are the property of Tabletop Gold. For more information about Paizo Inc. and Paizo products, visit paizo.com. We at Tabletop Gold would love to hear from you. Email us at letters@tabletopgold.com and find all our social links at tabletopgold.com.